Hey guys, Basil Wolf from Grayson Hobby, and today we have an update to the awesome, most popular quad we probably have. It's the ET115. Now we're going to call this the ET115 V3.
Yeah. Now one thing you'll see, the box will still say V2. This is technically a running change.
So we gotta stay to the end and find out what's new with this V3 version.
I don't know, crash it and land it right side up. Are you kidding me? Alright, so in the event you crash it,
oh my
right side up again. Alright, this thing does not know crashing. Let's try it this way. Crash. Are you serious? Okay. Guys, apparently it knows right side up. Alright, let's try this.
Try it again.
Keep trying that.
Oh my, 4 in a row.
Alright.
5 in a row. 6 in a row. So this is not what turtle mode is, right?
No, this is not turtle mode. It's not automatic. But all right.
7 in a row.
We get the out of it. It is upside down. I have disarmed so I don't damage any motors. So that's the key. Whenever you crash, you always want to disarm when it's upside down like that because you don't want it eating up props. The props sticking in grass, twigs, etc. If you leave it running, especially if you have air mode on and angle or horizon or acro, you run the risk of burning up a motor. So I've disarmed the quad. I'm going to throw it into turtle mode with the switch, and then I'm going to arm it again, and then I'm going to move the right stick in the direction I want to flip it. Then it's back over. Then you need to disarm, turn off turtle mode, and arm again. But turtle mode doesn't work when the battery ejects. This is why I don't like turtle mode on these kind of quads, because you're more likely to damage things than not if you don't know what you're doing.
Turtle mode in the ideal world works.
Turtle mode's great for racing, but otherwise, guys, if you're new to it, take the walk of shame. It's that right there. If you went to arm, that could be a power lead, balance lead, and a prop, and you have a fire.
Right, after all that
So, all the bashing, you can see the guards are still intact, not cracked. I was able to, the guards did compress enough hitting the wall to bend the prop. Yeah, everything's fine there. But I did manage to booger up some of the props here. I hit it pretty hard against the wall, but nothing broke.
Now, I see this question asked a lot. Is that prop flyable for you?
Okay, here's the thing, guys. When the props are all bent up like this, they're gonna cause excessive vibration and amp draw. So this is another reason they lower the KV, is because when the props get buggered up, they draw more current. And the prior motors were so close to the threshold of the ESC, it was more likely to burn up if the props look like this. If you see a prop like this, change it, don't keep flying.
And for those non-southerners, boogered up means cracked and chipped.
Or bent.
Or bent. Southern word of the day, boogered up.
All right, guys, so if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. We got a lot of videos, tutorials, stuff like that on the ET series as well. If you're interested in some of the other quads, Diatone, etc., that we do a lot of those things. So definitely subscribe below.
So we're gonna go over some of the same features. That way we put everybody's mind at ease first. So it is still a 3S quad.
Frame is the same, the body's the same, the ESC is the same, the VTX is the same as well.
Yes. And it still has the awesome little case,
a bunch of extra props.
Everybody loves, because I have these.
Yeah, I normally don't buy it for the case, but yeah, all right, we'll go with that. Same 100 milliwatt VTX is defaulted to 100. You can change it to 25 if you have to in your area. The biggest change is the firmware update. The flight controller has been updated with a newer chip, a faster chip. The motors have been updated, and the receiver now has RSSI.
Okay, all right. Let's start with the outside and go in.
Okay, so the motors on this thing are now 1105 instead of 1104, and they're 5,000 kV versus 5,500. So the motors have changed. They're slightly taller. They're the same diameter. They're 1105s instead of 1104s.
So
and
that's 1 millimeter, right?
They're 1 millimeter taller of the winding part.
Okay.
So the motors at a glance look identical,
okay,
but they are slightly larger.
They don't look identical. Why did they do that? Why did they go to a bigger motor?
A lot of companies have switched to the 1105s, and I don't know if maybe it's just a little bit stronger of a motor, a little more copper winding in it.
Okay.
But the 5,000 kV, the only thing I can think of is the lower kV is one less amp draw, less strain, so in the possibility of the crashing, etc. And this version does have the ability to have turtle mode on it out of the box. So maybe that's something they factored in there. A little less strain on the ESCs if it's trying to flip over or stuck in grass, etc. But the biggest change, in my opinion, I wouldn't even consider the motors that much of a change more than just a running update. The flight controller itself. So the flight controller is down to F4 flight controller, and if you've been using BetaFlight, if anybody's familiar with BetaFlight, unfortunately the F3s have kind of run their mark. No longer, they're running out of room on the chips, and they've had to cut a lot of features back. In order to use F3, they've actually taken a lot of the extra features out of BetaFlight in order to still work with F3. It's really more of a necessary update in order to use the newer firmware. Now this still is running a slightly older firmware. I believe they are going to ship with 3.53 on it, not 4.0. Guys, if you get one, please fly it with the stock firmware first before you go updating anything. There is still a lot of bugs with newer BetaFlight, and if you put the latest and greatest on it, there could be reactions where you either burn up an ESC or motor, etc. like that if things are not set right. And you can't just copy the CLI file, the dump file, the settings, the PID tune and all that from the older firmware and put on the new, because they did change the weights of the PID. I would really recommend, especially considering this is designed for more of a beginner, run the stock firmware first. Don't go updating the BetaFlight on this.
And then KingKong did announce to us that they were coming out with this probably back in February and March.
Yeah.
So they do a lot of R&D, they do a lot of testing, and probably with the firmware that was out was that firmware that you mentioned. And so they take that and they abuse it and they test it. They know it works.
Now the last change on it is between the firmware and the receiver. The receiver's been updated to now have RSSI outputting on OSD.
Yes.
So you're just like the XM Plus and the XM when you flash them and update them with RSSI firmware. Now we can put on, and it comes default on aux12 is RSSI. So it's going to transmit a signal through one of the radio channels that you can put on your OSD menu on the OSD display to where it'll give you receiver signal strength.
There's an alarm set for it, right? Automatic alarm?
You can default in the OSD, you'll start flashing at 35 or less.
Okay.
You can adjust that for wherever you want.
For our sake, it's just going to show you your signal strength, and when it gets lower, turn around.
Exactly, so you know when you're in a bad area.
All right, so for those who love our speed test, this one we don't really want to do one because it's going to be about the same. 54. I think what people who are beginners really want to know how long they fly, not how fast they fly.
All right, so you want to go for how long roughly it flies?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that would probably be better.
All right, enough jibber jabber. Let's go outside and
Now the object of this is to not crash the entire flight, right?
yeah. Can you go like around the behind us?
Good God, this trees are too low. Oh. Nope, we're back on. Temporary setback.
Kind of like go
I'm directly behind us. I'm flying the little path. A lot of breakup.
Oh, that's pretty cool, but there you go.
Yeah, we're only sitting at a minute and 57, 2 minutes. 2 minutes and say I'm 10.8 under load right now. So this is probably the deepest part of the battery where the voltage is going to stay pretty consistently at that part. Starting to dip a little bit. Alright, now the battery's really starting to sag down and it's dead. It is 4 minutes in and it is dead as a doornail. Motors are pretty warm.
Let me feel. Yeah, they're warmer, but they're not hot. They're warmer. All right, we are going to try these Avon by Emax 2327, I think it is.
So we just got a flying it down to nothing 4-minute flight on the Factory 600. We're gonna try the GMB 550. But also I want to try the 550, but I do want to try the Avons. I'm going to charge up the stock battery again.
Wait a minute, what is that?
Dirt.
So we're going to do what?
So we're going to try, I want to switch over to the Avon props on this guy. And I want to see if we get better flight time. See if we can beat 4 minutes.
Okay.
Or 3.5 minutes safely with the smaller capacity lipo. And this is what you need to do. If you're ever putting aftermarket props on these guys, you need to check the depth of the screw. So we're going to go ahead and remove one prop at a time here. This is the ideal depth of the screws. If you look here, you got about 2, maybe, it's not 3 millimeters, about 2 millimeters worth of threads. Maybe 3, I don't know, it's close. Switch hubs, I want to say these hubs are shorter. That's it's about the same, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Now the other option is to get rid of the cooling things altogether and run shorter screws. No, that's barely sticking through. So I think we're better off leaving the caps on and going with the shorter, or literally just switching over these.
Okay, so everything, we measured, so everything's good. All right, done there?
Yep, props are switched over. I'm just gonna do one little once over.
How's our clearance? All right,
so the factory screws, all we had to do is literally take the props and swap them, use the same cap, same length screws. We didn't have to use shorter screws. It looks like the 1105s have a little more depth clearance than the 1104s did, so we don't have to worry about the longer screws from the stock screws. On the older one we did.
Okay.
So the version 3 looks like they fixed that, so that's nice.
All right, let's go get a shot. All right, so with these new props and these new KV motors, what are you thinking here?
Smoother in turns. Now, so companies like Diatone, for example, on their HD, the Caddx Turtle version of their 249, they actually switched to these props because the other gem fans were giving a little bit of jello.
Okay.
So these props are very smooth. They're known to be very smooth. So I am seeing that a little bit more smoother in the turns. It feels a little better, not getting any oscillation in some of the maneuvers like I was with the other one.
Okay.
Props are great. As far as voltage right now, I'm sitting at 2 minutes on the dot and I'm at 10.9 volts. And this is with a slightly smaller battery.
Okay.
So I think we are gonna get a good 4-minute flight out of this.
So now you're seeing the RSSI in this one. You noticing any dropouts around here?
Believe it or not, I'm not looking in that corner as much.
Right.
I'm just making sure I don't crash.
Yeah, I don't.
But
I don't look at that
flashed, so it hasn't hit below 35. I know that. Now I'm going to take it behind the building here. I'm at 66%, completely behind a metal building. My video is cutting out pretty good right now because of where I am. I'm sitting down. I do not have a good line of sight to the quad. Almost 3 minutes now. I'm at 10.7 volts. I'm thinking the Avons are definitely going to increase our flight time. It's similar, just a little flipping around the trees and stuff like that. I haven't been doing too much fancy stuff, but it's about the same as what I did before with the other battery. Low battery alarm at 3.5 minutes, and I'm at 10.6.
Low battery alarm at 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, the low battery beeper comes on fairly early on this one out of the box.
Stock, yeah.
You could lower it if you want, but it's better be safe than sorry in my opinion, especially for new flyers. All right, 10.4 volts is where it's coming low. 10.2. We're sitting right at, let's see, we got, I'll tell you when it's 4 minutes. We are, 9.7, 9.6. Ooh, it hit hard. So I got the land now, and we are done at 4 minutes on the dot. Motors are cooler with these different props. Yeah, a little bit cooler.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so these props are easier on the motors.
Yeah. Much.
But definitely, I'd say on the 550 with these props, 3.5 minutes was good.
Yeah. There you go. So set your timer on your radio for 3.5 minutes with the 550.
I typically set them to 3 to start out with. That way you got time to land if you're new and all that.
Because 3.5 minutes, you may be over a lake or something.
If you want your batteries to last longevity-wise and the life of the pack to be better, stick with a 3-minute flight. You can stretch it to 3.5. I typically would recommend a 3-minute flight on a 550. The 600s you could go 3.5.